1 to 3 p.m. for an exclusive show that elevates your home, mind, and soul. Discover the latest interior design trends to create your dream sanctuary. Unlock your true potential.
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Learn about smart betting strategies with AnyBet. Bet wisely, enjoy responsibly, and maximize your success. The temperature by AnyBet is
29 degrees Celsius in Kingston and 29 also in Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robian Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, the Holness administration believes it's in a prime position to negotiate with international partners following the 10% tariff on imports into the United States.
Yes, it is uncertain time. We have done the necessary work. We have built the relationships. We have placed ourselves in strategic positions to be heard. I play chess, not draft.
Julian Robinson reiterates the PNP's stance that the government should not remove the GCT on imported raw foods.
The Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs is defending her stance that the next general election is not constitutionally due by September this year.
Capri says the absence of any major election spending or promise is a key highlight of the government's 2025-26 budget.
Scores of family members, friends, and legal luminaries pay their final respects to veteran attorney-at-law Valerie Nita Robertson.
In news from the rest of the world, 2 Venezuelans shot dead by Trinidadian police.
Trump grants TikTok a 75-day extension to either sell its U.S. assets or face a ban in the country.
In headline sports, 13 Jamaicans in action on day 1 of inaugural Grand Slam track at the National Stadium this evening.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, Marlene Malahoo Fort, is defending her stance that the next general election is not constitutionally due by September. Her comments have triggered concerns from the opposition. The minister will join us.
From 6 to 8 p.m., we'll bring you live coverage of the Consulate General of Jamaica's diaspora, an evening with the Prime Minister being held in Miramar, Florida.
And at 8, it's the A-Team with Dennis Brooks. All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile. Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app. Available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Friday afternoon, it's Friday, April 4, 2025.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. I play chess, not draft. Those were the words of Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness speaking at the launch of Expo Jamaica at the National Arena on Thursday. He was reacting to the potential economic shocks brought on by new tariffs imposed by the United States. Mahira Stewart reports.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness told the launch of Expo Jamaica that his administration is in prime position to properly negotiate with international partners following the 10% universal tariffs on imports in the U.S. Jamaica is among those affected, with a 10% tariff set to be applied to all goods exported to America.
This is a new world, an uncertain world, but Jamaica stands on its 2 feet, erect and proud. We will secure our economic independence, and I want every Jamaican to appreciate that. So yes, it is uncertain time. We have done the necessary work. We have built the relationships. We have placed ourselves in strategic positions to be heard and to be heard from and to be consulted. When these changes are going to happen, we know that they could have long-term impact. We started planning long ago. So when you don't hear me say and run out and make statements, because you have a government that is thinking very carefully, very strategically. I play chess, not draft.
President Donald Trump announced the tariffs on Wednesday. Nearly 60 countries across the world were also hit with tariffs, ranging from 10% to as high as 49%. Trump's sweeping tariffs are expected to affect Jamaica's existing preferential trading terms with the United States. Prime Minister Holness told the Expo that his administration is seeking to ascertain the extent of the looming fallout. Still, he boasted that his administration has prepared for any shock that could affect the country.
If it is one thing that you can be certain of for a small, open economy like Jamaica, is that we will have shocks. Things that happen outside of our control. In the past, we used to say it is other people's fault. There are those who believe the world owed us something. That is not my stance. We must be prepared for shocks. We must be able to absorb the hit and recover.
Dr. Holness adds that his administration will always speak the truth and defend its principles during international negotiations without being disruptive.
We must put ourselves in a position to always be welcomed at the table to negotiate. And where we have our truths and strong positions, we must speak them clearly without fear to authority and powers. And we do it without bombast, hysterics, and hyperbole. And we get the job done.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
The government will be seeking clarity on whether the 10% Trump tariff on Jamaica supersedes the duty-free access that the country enjoys when exporting goods to the U.S. under the Caribbean Basin Initiative. That's according to Industry, Investments and Commerce Minister Senator Aubin Hill.
Get clarity on what it means exactly. Does it supersede the CBI or the CBI-based arrangements that we have in place, which is not at treaty level but has been in existence for a long time for the Caribbean? We are not clear on that yet. If it does, which is another possibility, if it does, we then have to look at the competitive landscape. What do we sell to the United States, and who else would be in the place to replace us or to compete with us, and how far away from the United States they are?
Senator Aubin Hill, Minister of Industry, Investments and Commerce. Similar sentiments have been expressed by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness and Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith. Jamaica trades with the USA under the Caribbean Basin Initiative. It comprises the Caribbean Basin Economic Recovery Act 1983 and the 2000 Caribbean Basin Trade Partnership Act. Both pieces of legislation provide one-way, non-reciprocal, duty-free access to the U.S. market for goods with a few exceptions. These exceptions include footwear, luggage, flat goods, work gloves, leather-wearing apparel, and watches and parts. Meanwhile, Senator Hill says in light of the current trading environment, Jamaica will continue to explore other opportunities and advance its special economic zone.
Opposition spokesman on finance Julian Robinson is reiterating the PNP's stance that the government should not remove the General Consumption Tax, GCT, on imported raw foods. Mr. Robinson renewed his call following the recently imposed tariffs by the Trump administration.
I would say this would be the worst time to undertake such a measure, given the changes in the global environment and the uncertainties in terms of how trade will operate going forward. After the measures announced by President Trump, there are likely to be retaliatory measures announced by other countries, and it will take a while for the dust to settle to determine how trade will function in a new world order, one which is not governed by free trade and normal rules.
In March, the House of Representatives delayed passing amendments to the GCT Act after the opposition raised concerns over the measure. The amendments would see tax being removed from imported raw foods. Changes to the Act were initially put forward by former Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke. Opposition leader Mark Golding said removing the tax could expose local farmers to uneven trading practices. But in response, the Finance Minister Favour Williams says the matter came up during last year's review of Jamaica's trade policies by the World Trade Organization. She says the UK and the European Union had called on Jamaica to correct its tax laws. But Mr. Robinson posited that removing taxes would have serious implications.
It would be in the interest of Jamaica to preserve the status quo and not remove GCT on imported food items. And certainly, in this environment, we have to support our local producers, our local farmers, who will be under more pressure. I think there will be opportunities as well in other markets outside of the U.S. And so, to reiterate my point, it would not be the best time at all to remove the GCT on imported food items.
Julian Robinson, the opposition spokesman on finance.
The Caribbean Policy Research Institute, Capri, says the absence of any major election spending or promise is a key highlight of the government's 2025-26 budget. The think tank offered the observation at its budget breakdown session held on Thursday. Dr. Damien King is the executive director of Capri.
This is an election year. I watched the presentations waiting for the big headline-grabbing, economic damaging policy announcement that is designed to grab cheap votes. I didn't hear it. So the absence of such in the policies and programs is a takeaway. Apparently, nobody's running with it.
Finance Minister Favour Williams told the Parliament during her budget presentation that despite the fiscal rules allowing for deficit spending of no more than 0.3%, the government decided against sending such a signal in an election year. The minister says the government remains committed to bringing the debt to GDP ratio to 60% by 2027-28. In assessing the budget, Capri joined the country's fiscal commissioner, Courtney Williams, in hailing the government's spending plans as suitable.
It's a credible budget, it's a sustainable budget, and it continues to have established a platform that we think it's a basis for economic growth.
Dr. Damien King, Executive Director of Capri.
Meanwhile, Dr. King has urged the Holness administration to remain on the current path of debt reduction.
A question has been raised, and not just by the opposition, by other commentators. There's an idea in economics that debt of 60% of GDP is kind of a benchmark where a country doesn't really have to worry about it anymore. That is to say, the fiscal program is not seen as risky when your debt is down to 60% of GDP. So should the government continue to focus on debt reduction, or should it focus now on using some of the revenue dividend in other ways that may have positive effects? And we accept debt going forward that is not contracting as impressively. Capri's recommendation is that the government continue to focus on debt reduction.
Dr. Damien King, the Executive Director of Capri.
Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs Marlene Malahoo Fort is defending her stance that the next general election is not constitutionally due by September this year. She made the statement at Wednesday's sitting of the Joint Select Committee on the Constitution Amendment Republic Act.
I hear it often said that the elections are due by September. That is not constitutionally correct. What the Constitution provides for is an outer life for the date of Parliament, and that is 5 years, and the life of the Parliament commences on the first sitting of the Parliament after general elections, not when the general elections are held, because we know that the electoral laws require formalities to be complied with about counting, and sometimes space has to be given for recounts. So it's important for all Jamaicans to understand that the life of the Parliament is not fixed, because we do not have fixed date elections.
PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell, reacting to her comments, labelled them as gratuitous. According to him, the Jamaican people expect to go to the polls by September to elect a new government. Dr. Campbell insists the process must not be frustrated. But in a release on Friday, Minister Malahoo Fort clarified that she did not state when the upcoming general election will be called. Instead, she says her comments, which cannot be credibly challenged, were intended to promote a better understanding of the provisions of Jamaica's laws regarding the elections. Minister Malahoo Fort had further explained to the committee that the Parliament will automatically dissolve if an election is not called at the end of the 5-year period.
If elections are not called sooner, Parliament automatically dissolves on the 5th anniversary after its first sitting. And then the Constitution also provides for the holding of elections within 3 months of the Parliament being dissolved.
Marlene Malahoo, Fourth Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Celebrate 26 years with IQ Optical. Enjoy 26% off your prescription eyewear and sunglasses this month only. Book your appointment or take your prescription to IQ Optical in New Kingston, Manor Park or Drexel. Conditions apply. The time by IQ Optical is...
It's 14 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, also 29 out west in Montego Bay.
Jamaica Post is committed to being your preferred logistics partner. Enjoy the convenience of 3 to 5 days for international shipments at competitive rates and next business day delivery for local packages. Take advantage of our fast, reliable and ever-evolving services: Zip Mail, Click and Ship, Fast Track, EMS, Parcel Service, Registered Mail, Corporate Mail Service and Private Letterbox. Access customer service support and track packages online. Visit our post offices island-wide and premium service centers at select locations. For more information, go to jamaicapost.gov.jm. Conditions apply.
Continuing the news. Scores of family members, friends, legal luminaries and politicians gathered at the St. Andrew Parish Church on Friday to pay their final respects to veteran attorney-at-law King's Counsel Valerie Nita Robertson. Mrs. Nita Robertson passed away on February 24 after a battle with an aggressive form of brain cancer. She was 71 years old. Robian Williams reports.
Renowned for her fierce advocacy, Valerie Nita Robertson built a distinguished legal career spanning over 4 decades. She was regarded as one of Jamaica's foremost criminal defense attorneys with an unwavering commitment to justice. Her passing is a significant loss to the country's justice system, a sentiment echoed by her brother, fellow attorney, King's Counsel Churchill Nita.
A loss to Jamaica, a loss to our family, our young men of strength. She made them so. And when she enters into that other place, wherever it is, she will enter as a warrior princess who fought in the interest of justice in this world. One of the moments of my life that I will cherish is when I proposed her admission to the inner bar. When she became Queen's Counsel, it should have been conferred on her before. She had done enough to deserve it. And then I knew when I proposed her to admission to the inner bar, that Valley would be sitting beside me in the front bench. And together we will champion the cause of those who needed justice.
Her 4 sons remembered her as a devoted and protective mother, cherishing the legacy she leaves behind.
I think what I valued most was her determination. Mommy was not only legally brilliant, she was determined to win. She was determined to fight the cause for her clients, for those who needed a fighter, for those who are voiceless.
Mommy was a great attorney because every client she had was like a child. And so that's really the secret to why she was good. She would fear things, but she was going to go to the ends of the earth for her child and for her clients.
I watched my mother become a lighthouse for people in the darkest of waters. That's why it's hard to speak of her in the past tense, because her voice still echoes in courtrooms. Her presence still lingers in every Jamaican who ever had a fear shot because of her. And her love, it doesn't die, it simply changes form.
Former PNP President Dr. Peter Phillips described her as an exemplary Jamaican woman who made an indelible mark on the legal profession and her political career.
This pursuit of justice for the marginalized and oppressed in our country led her into representative politics in the 1980s, where she served as a councillor for the Papine Division in Eastern St. Andrews. Subsequently, she offered herself for a parliamentary seat in Portland, and in between managed many successful and some unsuccessful political campaigns on behalf of the People's National Party. Although it may be said that membership in the People's National Party was in some ways an inheritance from her father, who was an active campaigner in St. Elizabeth. Valerie never allowed political affiliation to confound her principles.
Among those in attendance at the Thanksgiving service were Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn, President of the Jamaica Bar Association Kevin Powell, members of the Judiciary, and President of the Senate Tom Tavares Finson. Robeanne Williams for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
2 Venezuelan men were fatally shot by the police in Trinidad and Tobago early on Friday morning. They were reportedly shot during a confrontation with the police team in Tableland at about 5:30. The deceased were identified by their Venezuelan ID cards. According to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, a team of officers of the Southern Division Task Force conducted an intelligence-led operation in Tableland. The police say the team was acting on information that 2 Venezuelans were in possession of firearms and were facilitating the sale of them. The task force reportedly identified themselves as police and entered a small house where one of the men pointed a firearm at the officers. The police team responded and shot the suspect. The report added that a second man lunged at the officers with a Chinese chopper. He was also shot. Both men were pronounced dead at hospital. A chrome revolver and ammunition were reportedly recovered at the scene.
U.S. President Donald Trump has granted TikTok a 75-day extension to comply with a law that requires the app to either sell its U.S. assets or face a ban in the country. On Friday, Trump wrote on Truth Social that he looks forward to working with TikTok and China to close the deal. The platform is currently owned by Chinese company ByteDance. Trump's first extension took effect in January and was set to expire on Saturday. TikTok, which is used by 170 million people in the U.S., initially went dark for several hours before Trump took office. The Biden administration had argued that TikTok could be used by China as a tool for spying and political manipulation. The new extension comes as the Trump administration tries to broker a deal to bring the social media platform under American ownership. Trump also suggested the U.S. could offer a deal where China agrees to approve a TikTok sale in exchange for relief from U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, the Holness administration believes it's in a prime position to negotiate following the 10% tariff on imports into the United States.
Opposition on Finance Julian Robinson reiterates the PNP's stance that the government should not remove the GCT on imported raw foods.
The Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs has defended her stance that the next general election is not constitutionally due by September this year.
Capri says the absence of any major election spending or promise is a key highlight of the government's 2025-26 budget.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robeanne Williams.
And listeners, you can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next at 5 tomorrow afternoon.
JUTC finally arrived in St. Mary. Well done, JUTC.
The seats are very comfortable and it has Wi-Fi and AC.
The ride was nice, the AC was nice. I love the ride, I will always look out for you.
Thank you for traveling with me, and I will definitely look out for you the next time. Welcome to JTC on the 52B, from Alpha Tree to Toms River.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Home ownership is such a big deal, you might think it's impossible. Good thing VMBS makes the impossible possible. Get to your down payment faster with iSave for Home. Find the perfect place with our property services team at your side. When you're ready to apply for a VMBS mortgage online or in branch, we can assist. You'll see why the difference between impossible and possible is just 2 letters, VM. Transformation starts here. Visit transform.myvmgroup.com. Let's go.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. The Jamaica Scorpions continue to dominate the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force in their 6th round West Indies Championship encounter at the Brian Lara Stadium in Trinidad. At Sports Time, the hosts were 32 for 1. They're set 389 for victory with a day to go. The Scorpions were dismissed for 187 in their second turn at bat. Brandon King top scored with 89 against Brian Charles, who claimed the 4 for 82. Over at the Sir Frank World Ground, Captain Johan Jeremiah carved out a century, 107 to lead the combined campuses and colleges to 279 for forward close, an overall lead of 201. And of course, they're playing against the West Indies Cricket Academy. Over at the Darren Sammy Stadium, Barbados Pride closed day 3 on 144 for 3. They require a further 161 runs to beat the Windward Islands Volcanoes. Shane Mosley is not out on 6-6. With him is Carl Mears unbeaten on 34. The Volcanoes were bowled out for 316 in their second innings, with Kavem Hodge falling just 1 run short of a century. Alec Athanaze made 78 and Shadrach Descartes 50 against Raymond Simmons 4 for 47. Over at Warner Park, champions the Guyana Harpy Eagles, led by centuries from Kevlin Anderson and Captain Tevin Emlak, piled up 381 for forward close, an overall lead of 239 against the Leeward Islands Hurricanes. Anderson was dismissed for 101, while Imlak is there on 103, comes back tomorrow. Both put on 114 for the third wicket. Matthew Nandu went for 6-6 and Raymond Perez 49. The West Indies women's cricket team thrashed Scotland by 117 runs in a pre-tournament warm-up game yesterday in the United Arab Emirates. Jamaican all-rounder Chanel Henry slammed on explosive 109 off just 71 balls to set the foundation for the Windies' imposing total over 290 for 7, with valuable contributions from Zeta James, who chipped in with 47 off 47 balls. Scotland's bowlers struggled to contain the onslaught, and their chase never gained momentum. They crumbled to 173 all-out. Alia Alain starred with the ball. She claimed 4 for 21. Janelle Glasgow bagged the 2 for 43. The West Indies women, as well as the Scot, they're gearing up for the World Cup qualifiers in Pakistan later this month. 13 Jamaicans are in action on today's opening day of the first ever staging of Grand Slam track at the National Stadium, starting in just about 18 minutes' time. Stacey Ann Williams and Nikisha Price will face reigning Olympic champ Gabby Thomas of the USA and the 2019 world champion Dina Asher-Smith in the women's 200 meters, the first event on the program, scheduled to go off at 5:42. DeAndre Watkins and Zandrian Barnes are in the men's 400 meters at 5:44, while Asini Wilson, Malik James King and Rashawn Clark will line up in the men's 400 meters hurdles at 6:34 with the reigning world champion Alison dos Santos of Brazil. The women's 400 hurdles will go off at 6:46 with Jamaican Shan Salmon, Rochelle Clayton and Anjanette Knight going up against the brilliant Sydney McLaughlin-Livroni and the former world and Olympic champion Delalia Mohammed. Natoya Gould will go in the women's 800 meters against the world champion Miriam Mora from Kenya at 6:21. The final event on the opening day, the men's 100 meters, that is scheduled to go off at 7:21 with Akeem Blake of Bleak Seville, and they'll battle the former world champion Freddie Curley, Zonal Hughes and Kenny Benarek. Jamaica's national senior women's football team will face Mexico in the first of 2 international friendlies at the CPKC Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri tomorrow. The last time the Reggae Girls faced Mexico was in 2022. The Jamaicans came away 1-0 winners. And assistant coach Dion Burton is inviting the diaspora to come out and support the team.
It's going to be exciting, you know. Mexico are the top 30 or so team in the world, so it's great that we get the opportunities to put our wits against a team of this caliber. Hopefully you can get the opportunity to come out and support the Reggae Girls, and any help is much appreciated. And as we always say, you're like the 12th man, so bring your whistles, bring the family out, and it's going to be a good couple of games.
Burton, who was a crucial member of the Reggae Boys team that qualified historically for the 1998 World Cup in France, says the matches are crucial to their preparation going into the 2027 Women's World Cup qualifiers.
It's really important that we utilise every camp that we have leading up to the qualification. So it just gives us time to plan and prep and just work on lots of areas that we need to, and we know that are going to be needed when we come round to qualification time and playing these games in October. So the more grass time we can get with the girls is a must, and it's really important to just tick off loads of areas that we're having players change it quite a lot of the time, but it's good to get the new girls in and letting them understand what's expected from them and the levels that we play at.
The uncertain Burton. The second match is set for the Shell Energy Stadium in Houston, and that will come your way on April 8th. That's next week, Tuesday, yeah? And that will do it for sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Since 2016, 253,000 more Jamaicans are working. That's 28,000 new jobs each year. We are building Jamaica. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:30.
Commercial spaces for you. Parks and attractions for you. Housing and residential developments for you. Beautiful rental properties for you. Improving quality of life through infrastructure development across Jamaica for you. The Urban Development Corporation, making development happen for you. Brought to you by the Urban Development Corporation.
UDC for you.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes.
Watch out.
Protect yourself.
What is the
For more
on TV?
information, visit broadcastingcommission.org
Here
or
ya,
scan
baby.
the QR code on screen.
Deepfake. No deepfake can't catch me.
Junior, you know say AI can make something will look and sound just like you? One day Junior get a voice note from her granny. Say the food done, the medication done, and she need money urgently.
Need money urgently? But Miss Pat no like ask people for things.
And as so comes, Judy get suspicious.
So what she do?
She asks the neighbor to go check pan her. Junior, the lady quite alright over there make her Sunday dinner.
So the voice note a deepfake?
Yes, my love. Come, your food ready.
Right now it look like we have to outsmart the AI. But wait. I really want dege dumpling here, give me.
Me I wonder if AI can make one deep fake dumpling for you.
To learn more about deepfakes, visit www.broadcastingcommission.org.
When you start iSaving, more things become possible. That car you've been eyeing goes from your dreams to your driveway. That big vacation moves from your wish list to a spot on the calendar. The new fridge that was once a need becomes a star of your kitchen. Supercharge your money with a high-yield iSave account. Put your savings on autopilot so you won't even need to think about it. Turn that dream into a done with iSave from VMBS. Transformation starts here. Visit transform.myvmgroup.com. Let's go.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. It's time for the cover story. I'm Ricardo Brooks. We were due to be joined by the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, but we're going to switch gears. We're going to deal with the situation unfolding at KPH. Now, Government Senator Dr. Elon Thompson is welcoming word that renovated operating theatres at the Kingston Public Hospital, the KPH, will be reopened next week. He made the comment in a release to the public on Friday following a multi-stakeholder meeting at the facility.
As an active participant in the space, I'll be the very first to admit that there's a lot of work to be done in the health sector, and the temporary shutting down of the theatre has provided a significant level of inconvenience. I have never indicated that the health sector is perfect. We have challenges like all other sectors. However, good management is about accepting where problems exist and moving decisively to fix them. I am confident that the steps taken to fix the theatre will no doubt enumerate to the benefit of all stakeholders, including healthcare workers and the public. I attended a meeting today with key stakeholders at the institution. We had very candid discussions about the progress of the repairs. The remedial action should be completed by early next week, with a deep sanitization process to follow and return of sanitized equipment to the space.
The operating theatres were closed following mold issues. The hospital has since conducted sanitization work to address the issue. Now, the opposition spokesman on health, Dr. Alfred Dawes, has been critical of the government for what he says is attempting to downplay the issue. However, Senator Thompson, who's also a former president of the Medical Doctors Association, is cautioning Dr. Dawes against poisoning the minds of the public about steps being taken to fix the health system.
When he makes these comments, which appear to enter the domain of grandstanding, especially in a situation where he ought to be aware that repairs are at an advanced stage, it gives rise to concern about whether he's genuinely attempting to bring attention to an issue or whether he's merely seeking to achieve self-promotion and partisan one-upmanship. I encourage the PMP caretaker to ensure that his comments are geared towards securing enduring improvements to the sector, lest they be interpreted as a mere bid to poison the minds of the population in order to secure his short-term political objectives. As I have indicated, Jamaica deserves better, and I know we can work together to ensure that we have a healthcare system which delivers for all Jamaicans.
For more on this matter, we're being joined by Government Senator Dr. Elon Thompson. Good afternoon, Senator.
Afternoon, Mr. Brooks, and to your listeners.
Thank you so much for joining us. This stakeholder meeting that happened today, who were the stakeholders at the table?
So essentially, the SERA board chairman was there, members of SERA, the RD, regional director, the regional technical director, and of course, the administrators from the hospital, the CEO, the senior medical officer, heads of departments of surgery, heads of anesthesia, and the matron of the hospital. And there were representatives from the Ministry of Health with special interest in infectious diseases.
So a pretty high-level meeting.
Indeed.
The opposition spokesman has said that there's a crisis at KPH. Exactly how bad is the mold situation there?
So what we need to understand is how the mold is formed. And we understand it. It's from moisture. So when you have an air conditioning unit that is not working properly, and then you have, humidity being an issue, mold will form. Mold can be treated, and that is why, the government has acted decisively to treat the situation. We've gone in. Steps have been taken to sanitize the area, treat it for mold. The air conditioning unit is working now properly, and we'll deal with the humidity issues as well. And by next week, we should have things operational.
And for those who may not understand, is it that periodic treatment is not being done such that the mold was able to build up?
So I think what we'll have to look at now, and that came out of the meeting, is proper, scheduled maintenance of all institutions across the island. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to have a comprehensive look at that. I think the problem, however, was really made worse when the air conditioning unit went down, and that may have accelerated the mold growth. The fact of the matter is, moving forward, we're going to have to take steps to make sure that it doesn't occur again.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the operating theatres now, where are we in terms of reopening those? Because you said sanitization did occur.
Right. So what we have to understand is there are structural work. There's structural work that's going on. And once the structural work is finished, then the persons will have to exit the space, and then the necessary sanitization of the space will take place. The equipment that is going to be returned, so clearly that would have been moved out from before to allow the work to take place. So when the equipment is sanitized and then returned to the space, we have to make sure that all the air quality issues are okay and acceptable for the healthcare workers and the patients. And then there will be a process to, occupy back the space. So it will take, it's going to be a process. That's why I don't want to commit to an exact time, because it depends on when all the structural work is complete satisfactorily. And it will depend on how long the sanitation process will take. It will depend on when the equipment is sanitized and returned to the space. And then it will also depend on the checks and balance to make sure that the space is safe for the staff and safe for the patients, of course.
And for the patients who may have been waiting to, get surgeries done at the operating theaters, what do they do in the interim? Are they placed on a waiting list? What happens to them in the interim?
So certainly that will be taken care of by the technical persons at KPH. So all the surgeons who are there, the anesthetists, the staff there, they will take care of all of that in terms of rescheduling patients. And I think their job has been very difficult. And as my colleagues, I would applaud them for trying to, really make sure that there is no catastrophe out of the situation. I know that Bustamante Hospital for Children has been used. University Hospital is being used as outsourced sites to perform operations. And they have one operating theater for emergencies there at KPH.
So
but essentially, patients will have to be rescheduled, given new dates once the theater is up and running.
Oh, and just to be clear, so you're saying that in some instances, other operating theaters across the city are being used at other facilities?
Right. So that was highlighted, that, Bustamante Hospital for Children was a site that was being used, and University Hospital was a site that was being used. And this was after consultation when the problem, was identified, that some, relocation of some of the services would have been needed. And some of the services were outsourced to these spaces.
Dr. Thompson, Dr. Dawes leaned heavily on his background and his training as a medical, as a doctor in slamming the government. I'm just going to read to you what he says. He says that the situation posed, quote, a direct threat to the lives of patients and the well-being of dedicated healthcare workers. He continued, as a medical doctor, I understand firsthand the serious health hazards that mold exposure can cause. Respiratory issues, asthma, infections, and complications for immunocompromised patients. He says the presence of dangerous mold in clinical areas and operating theaters at KPH is not only unacceptable, it is inhumane, end quote. Is he being alarmist, or isn't this an accurate representation of the situation?
Well, I don't know if it's an accurate representation of the situation in that. I mean, a problem was identified and steps were taken to treat the problem, right? The comments made by Dr. Dawes and persons who are having running commentary on statements made by Dr. Dawes on social media and all over, I won't necessarily comment on. What I will say is the government has moved decisively on this issue. There is a problem with the maintenance situation in hospitals across the island. We all have identified that, all the stakeholders agreed on that. And we're looking as a government now to put in place systems to correct those challenges. And I think going forward, based on the meeting that we had today, right, we've identified what the problem is. And going forward, we have to ensure that maintenance, proper due diligence with maintenance takes place at institutions across the island. And that is not going to happen overnight. It is going to take buy-in from people. It is going to take consultation. It's going to take a lot of meetings. It's not going to take somebody coming and saying, oh, we're in crisis, right? That's not what it's going to take. It's going to take consultation and stakeholders being involved in the process.
And so those maintenance challenges at the other facilities, have you been told whether there's any other mold crisis, using Dr. Dawes' word, at any other hospital?
So I have not been told about any other hospitals. So I want it to be clear that, every institution has a responsibility to report to their regional health authorities problems that occur. They have persons in, and this is why, the statements made by Dr. Dawes, they are not only, implicating government alone. They're implicating the people who are in these positions, who are working to make sure that the institutions produce proper standards and services for patients and have proper standards and services that they give to healthcare workers as well. So we're implicating all these people when you make statements like what Dr. Dawes is going around making, right? We have to change the culture that we have in our institutions with regards to having proper maintenance, and that requires everybody to be on the same page. We don't need people tearing down the health sector. That will not help.
Yeah. He makes a more fundamental point, though, about the government's, he says, has ignored the health sector and has long ignored, he says, the poor state of KPH. You are in the profession. And I
have worked at KPH for a very long time.
And I want you to give an assessment to our listeners as to what you've seen in healthcare. Is it deteriorating in the way Dr. Dawes said, or have you seen any kind of tangible improvement in the quality of healthcare at these facilities?
I'll answer this question this way. The Kingston Public Hospital, and I mentioned it today in the meeting, the Kingston Public Hospital has undergone many changes with administrative staff. You look at the number of CEOs that have been at the institution, right? They have changed CEOs multiple times. And there have been other administrative changes in their hierarchy there. The challenges that exist there are numerous, yes. But, as I said, we have to sit down and develop strategies to recommit to solving the challenges there. This challenge that has come up, we all would say as the stakeholders sitting there today that the challenge is being addressed. Right? And we're looking forward to the theaters being reopened next week. There's going to be another challenge, I'm sure, in the weeks to come, and we just have to sit and we deal with them one-one.
Hold it there for me, please. Government Senator Dr. Elan Thompson is our guest on The Cover Story.
Clear your barrels and personal shipments with ease and convenience. Request a customs contactless clearance today through CCP at jca.gov.jm. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
15 minutes to 6.
Burn Shack fried chicken always ready. Burn Shack original crispy. Burn Shack Cajun spicy. Burn Shack a barbecue. Burn Shack we are go Burn Shack.
The temperature brought to you by Bird Shack Fried Chicken in Kingston, Montego Bay and Ochivios is...
It's 29 degrees Celsius here in Kingston. It's also 29 out west in Montego Bay.
Hop into action this Easter with a loan from Chris and Charles. Borrow $575,000 or more with payments starting at just $12,595. Whether you're renovating, consolidating debt, or investing in your future, we've got you covered with fast processing, unbeatable rates, and exceptional service. Better hurry. Just like Easter buns, this offer won't last. Call 876-926-0609 or visit chrisandcharles.com today. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Tune in to Outside with Pepita and Honeybee from 2 to 5 p.m. as we broadcast live from Megamart, 29 Upper Waterloo Road on Saturday, April 5. Outside with Pepita and Honeybee plus Megamart equals Mega Vibes. Come on down to Megamart Waterloo for the grand launch of their Mega Wheels 2 promotion, Easter fun, and more. Outside with Pepita is doing it mega with Mega Wheels 2 at Megamart. Don't miss the Mega Vibes, the Mega Specials, and the Mega Wheels. That's a live outside broadcast at Megamart with Pepita alongside Honeybee this Saturday, April 5 from 2 to 5 p.m. Catch us at 29 Upper Waterloo Road, Kingston, or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Tune in to Nationwide at 5 on April 4th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. as we broadcast the Consulate General of Jamaica, Miami, and VM Building Society's Diaspora Forum featuring Prime Minister Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. Don't miss this unique opportunity to hear directly from the Prime Minister about Jamaica's development, diaspora engagement, and learn more about VMBS in the diaspora. So tune in to Nationwide at 5 on April 4th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's the Consulate General of Jamaica, Miami, and VM Building Society's Diaspora Forum. Catch the live stream on Nationwide's YouTube channel and Nationwide Live 2. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by VM Building Society.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. I'm Ricardo Brooks. You're tuned into The Cover Story. We have with us Government Senator Dr. Elan Thompson. Dr. Thompson, before the break, you made a point about communication and the different chains of communication in the public health system. And I wondered if you think that those chains of communication are always effective. For example, we keep hearing things about ACs going down, and I wonder if these things are being communicated up the chain such that they can be repaired in a timely manner when they happen, or do we wait until it gets to again, that word keeps coming up, crisis, before everybody starts paying attention?
Well, the interesting thing about communication is that it can always be better done. And I'm sure all of us will agree on that. Communication is something that can always be done better. We have to look at our audience. We have to look at, the stakeholders who we are communicating with. It can always be done better. And once we understand that it can be done better, we need to work on it so that it really, the end result is what we want, right? So I would say, yes, communication generally can always be done better and more effectively. And this is what, we as government, we want to look at. We want to be able to communicate with the stakeholders, let them understand what is happening, what we want to achieve. And not, buy into this sense that Dr. Dawes has, that the government is uncaring about the persons at KPH and that we don't understand the challenges and that we are in crisis. I mean, these are strong terms that are just not true. We have major challenges. If we were in crisis, then, KPH would not even be able to see the thousands of patients that it sees on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
The operating theatre is an integral part of the functioning of that institution. The Kingston Public Hospital is the largest trauma center in the Caribbean, and it is one of the centers that takes the largest amount of patients in Jamaica. It is the largest hospital in terms of referral center in Jamaica, right? So it has a peculiar function that is so important that we have to take it seriously. It is impossible not to. Right? And anybody who is going to say that we don't take it seriously is that's just wrong. It's false.
Dr. Dawes also launched what I thought was a very personal barb at you. He said that it is troubling. It's a troubling sign of how political pressure can distort professional judgment and erode public trust. And I have to ask you directly, Dr. Thompson, have you been pressured politically to set aside your professional judgment in this matter?
Absolutely not. No. So you see, and there are a lot of personal attacks, which are surprising to me, that have taken place from Dr. Dawes. And I'm going to tell you this, Mr. Brooks. You see, I was well raised, and I'll rise above. I won't respond to them. And I watch the space, and I see all the comments, and I see all the maligning that takes place, trying to malign my character. But it's going to be a Herculean task to do that because, there are many patients. I'll give you this story. I went to Spanish Town Hospital and I started a urology service there in 2021. The service to date I've done over 1,000 surgeries with the help of my residents there and staff at the institution. Right? I've managed to successfully lead a proper urology service there. Right? It is unquestioned, my character. It is unquestioned, my ability as a surgeon at that institution and in the private practice. So Dr. Dawes cannot try to malign my character in any way, in any shape or form. Politics will not change my character. I've entered politics because I've been asked to do a task, right? And I think I can make a positive contribution to the political sphere in Jamaica. My character will never ever be changed because of politics. I do believe that the Jamaica Labour Party is the party of choice and serves the interests of the Jamaican people, right? And I've decided that I will be a part of this organization, an institution that I think will advance the care of Jamaican people. So I won't be making any comments on with respect to any comment, derogatory or otherwise, that Dr. Dawes will make about me personally. It is not my style. I will continue to work for the people of Jamaica.
Senator Dr. Elan Thompson, Government Senator, your final word to the Jamaican people this afternoon, those especially who have to rely on KPH in terms of what's being done to correct the issues.
Yeah, and really to Jamaican people who are served by the institution and the staff at the Kingston Public Hospital, right? I got so involved in it because it's an institution as well, because I know the Ministry of Health is doing everything they can to sort out the situation. But I've immersed myself in it to try and assist as well from my standpoint as well as a doctor and so forth. But I really am appealing to the healthcare workers there. We are really trying to sort out the situation there. There's no wool over my eyes or the government's eyes with regards to the challenges that exist there. We know what the challenges are, and we're working hard to fix them. I hope that we can report next week, and I think we will, based on the meeting, because deadlines have to be met by many different people. That's why I'm saying I hope. But I think next week, definitely, we will have the operating theaters up and running. But it has to be a stepwise process, and make sure that when it is open, it is safe for the healthcare workers and the patients.
Dr. Thompson, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Government Senator there, Dr. Elon Thompson. I really was struck, listeners, by, the very personal way in which the statement from Dr. Dawes was suggesting, or seemed to be suggesting, that a medical doctor was setting aside, good professional judgment for politics. I wondered the prudence of that in attacking him in that kind of personal and professional way, to suggest that he wasn't being true to his calling as a medical doctor. And of course, as doctors, they take that very seriously, their responsibility to their patients. And so I wondered why Dr. Dawes thought it was important or necessary to attack him that way. We have invited Dr. Dawes, I think we invited him yesterday, to have a conversation about the things that he has raised. I don't think we've gotten a response back from Dr. Dawes. He certainly keeps using the word crisis, and so wanted to have an understanding of, what he was hearing and seeing, I suppose. He hasn't responded to us. But that's the situation. Sanitization work has started, is ongoing, and Dr. Thompson saying that they hope that by next week those operating theaters will be reopened. Yeah, we're standing by to take you to Florida, where, remind me, Nora, what's going to happen in Florida? There's a diaspora forum happening in Florida. The Prime Minister is expected to speak there, and we're standing by to take you there. We're going to take a break, come back with more.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
5 minutes to 6.
Me grew up as my granny save her money under her mattress.
But at an all-time something, that's where I save my money in the bank. And because I want to buy a little house, we also save in a building society. We have to be smart with how we save our money.
So what if the bank crash?
Well, that's where JDIC comes in. Make I tell you something. With the JDIC Deposit Insurance Scheme, once you save your money in a commercial bank, merchant bank, or building society, your deposit is covered up to a maximum of $1.2 million per depositor per financial institution if the institution fails. All the information that you need is available at jdic.org, and you can follow their social media platform for more information.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
Plug into the sun with Peak Energy Solutions. We are your affordable provider for everything solar. Grid tie or off-grid solar P systems, solar air conditioners, panels, lithium batteries, solar supplies, and installation. Visit us at Shop 1, 3 Mosquito Valley Road, Red Hills, St. Andrew. Call 876-279-8820 or 944-0668. Or email us at peakenergysolutionsja@gmail.com. Peak Energy for everything solar.
Tune in to Nationwide at 5 on April 4th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. as we broadcast the Consulate General of Jamaica, Miami, and VM Building Society's Diaspora Forum, featuring Prime Minister Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. Don't miss this unique opportunity to hear directly from the Prime Minister about Jamaica's development, diaspora engagement, and learn more about VMBS in the diaspora. So tune in to Nationwide at 5 on April 4th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's the Consulate General of Jamaica, Miami, and VM Building Society's Diaspora Forum. Catch the live stream on Nationwide's YouTube channel and Nationwide Live 2. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by VM Building Society.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. We're switching gears now. We're going to the Diaspora Forum. We're going to have an interview with the Chief Representative Officer of VMBS Florida, Suzette Rochester Lloyd. Now, listeners, we continue our conversation with the Building Society. They're the major sponsors of the Diaspora Forum. The forum is titled An Evening with the Prime Minister, and it's being held in Florida. Mrs. Rochester Lloyd joins us now. Good afternoon. No? All right, we're going to try to... Mrs. Rochester Lloyd? All right, while we sort that out. So it's an evening with the Prime Minister in Miramar, Florida. He's engaging members of the diaspora about the development plans here in Jamaica and how the diaspora can be involved. And of course, VMBS Florida, the major sponsors of that initiative. Trying to get a sense from them, VMBS Florida, what they do in Florida exactly, how expansive is the operation there in Florida, and how important a forum like this is for the community there. Hearing from the Prime Minister, the diaspora is active. In fact, some people call Florida the 15th, well, I suppose call it the 16th soon, parish of Jamaica, because of the large number of Jamaicans who live there and how active and involved they are in local affairs. We are standing by to be joined by Chief Representative Officer at VMBS Florida, that's Suzette Rochester Lloyd. For us to tell her, she's going to tell us about the event and about the footprint that VMBS Florida has in the United States. You want to take a break? We're going to take a break and try to make contact.
Tune in to Outside with Pepita and Honeybee from 2 to 5 p.m. as we broadcast live from Megamart, 29 Upper Waterloo Road on Saturday, April 5. Outside with Pepita and Honeybee plus Megamart equals Mega Vibes. Come on down to Megamart Waterloo for the grand launch of their Mega Wheels 2 promotion, Easter fun, and more. Outside with Pepita is doing it mega with Mega Wheels 2 at Megamart. Don't miss the Mega Vibes, the Mega Specials, and the Mega Wheels. That's a live outside broadcast at Megamart with Pepita alongside Honeybee this Saturday, April 5 from 2 to 5 p.m. Catch us at 29 Upper Waterloo Road, Kingston, or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team. Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We're back with the Chief Representative Officer at VMBS Florida, Suzette Rochester Lloyd. Mrs. Rochester Lloyd, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you so very much for your patience and for having me.
That's fine. And we're happy to have you. So, first of all, you're on the ground with the diaspora in Florida. Talk to us about how important a forum like this is.
Thank you so very much for this question. A forum of this magnitude and this is incredibly important for the diasporans in Florida. it provides us a unique opportunity for community members to engage directly with the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, and our own Paul Elliott, who is the CEO for the VM Building Society, and to discuss their concerns and explore ways to contribute to Jamaica's development. So events like these foster a sense of connection and belonging, allowing the diaspora to stay informed and involved in national affairs, and of course, from the VM perspective, in their own financial well-being.
And what are some of the financial products that you offer to Jamaicans living in the diaspora?
Yes, so VM is dedicated to helping Jamaicans and friends of Jamaicans. We offer a wide range of financial products, such as savings, and we have investment opportunities and mortgage loans tailored to meet the needs of our members. You know, our team at our office here in Florida, we offer personalized financial guidance and support, ensure that diasporans can achieve their financial goals. So whether it's saving for the future, such as retirement, vacation, and we know how important it is for the 3 to 6 month emergency funds or unplanned medical expenses. So investing in Jamaica's assets or purchasing a home or property in Jamaica. So we consider ourselves the bridge to Jamaica.
And what are some of the common financial goals you see from members of the diaspora? I'm imagining home ownership might be one.
Yes, home ownership tops the list, and taking care of their loved ones back home, and of course saving for their vacation. So persons are now investing. We saw where during the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of millennials invested in Jamaica, where we had the opportunity of remote work, hybrid work. So we saw our millennials, enjoying a bit of our sand, sea, and sunshine, and coming back in the cold to work. So during the COVID-19, a lot of the millennials enjoyed a taste of our island home.
And for someone living in the United States in the diaspora who wants to take that first step, to start building with VMBS, what do they do? How do they get in contact? What do they do?
Yes, so they may contact our office here in Florida. Our number is 305-770-2643. We'll be more than happy to guide them through the process of opening an account in Jamaica, applying for a mortgage, or exploring investment options for a mix of asset classes. So we provide comprehensive support to ensure smooth and customer-friendly experience.
And where in Florida can they find you? All over the state or at a specific location?
Well, we are in Florida, and we're also in New York as well, in Brooklyn. But our office in Florida is at 2600 South University Drive, Suite 109. We're right in Miramar, right at the intersection of Miramar Boulevard and University Drive. And our contact number is 305-770-2643, or they may contact us by email at Florida Representative Office at myvmgroup.com. But for ease, our number is 305. Our number is 305-770-2643, or email, which is Florida Representative Office at MyVM Victoria Mutual Group.com.
All right. And of course, VM Building Society, they're the major sponsors of this Diaspora Forum. It's titled An Evening with the Prime Minister, being held in Miramar, Florida. And I understand they're ready for us now. Thank you so much, Mrs. Rochester Lloyd. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. So we're going to take you to Florida now for this evening with the Prime Minister. Reverend Dean Green is now delivering the opening prayer.
As we share together as family, we thank you, Father God, for the opportunity made possible to us to meet and share with all these dignitaries here, and in particular, the Prime Minister of Jamaica. Father, we thank you for who he has been. We thank you for keeping him thus far. And we pray that today or this evening, as we share together, we will learn together, we will understand together, and we will continue to support the country that we all love together. Father, we thank you for all those who have dedicated their lives to public service. The various mayors, commissioners, public officials that are here this evening. Most of all, Father God, we pray for all of us who are a part of this diaspora. We thank you that we can all come together like this, to eat together, to share together, to fellowship together, and to get information together so that we can find out how better to support each other as members of the diaspora and former citizens and citizens of this great country we call Jamaica. Father, we are thankful for our heritage. We are thankful for who you have made us to be. And we know you have been with us throughout the history of this country that we so love, Jamaica. And we pray that you will continue to be with us as we strive to support that country from this side of the pond. So now, Father, as we share together, we pray that you will guide what happens this evening and that we will all leave here much more unified and with much more resolve than we came. All this and other mercies we ask in your name. Amen.
Thank you so very much, Reverend Green. We'd also like to acknowledge those folks who were not able to make it into the sanctuary. We actually have people on the outside who are waiting in earnest, Mr. Prime Minister, to see you. So could we give a round of applause to those who are on the outside who have thought it not robbery to stay for this event. Also, getting rid of some other matters, we'd ask that once you're seated that you make no sudden moves or try to leave your seat. There are flights heading to El Salvador every 5 minutes. All right. And just so that no one feels left out by Reverend Green's prayer, we'd like to acknowledge those members. As you know, Jamaica is out of many one people. Those members of the Jewish community of Jamaica that came out here tonight. Shalom Aleichem. And to my brothers and sisters in the Muslim Jamaican community here in the diaspora, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, Allahu Akbar. Right? In the name of God, the Beneficent, I bear witness that there is no God but God. That's all I'm saying. And then, for the rest of us who have no religion at all, big up all yard masses. And at this time, I'm going to invite none other than the person that's arguably Jamaica's greatest tenor, who's going to come at this time, Mr. Steve Higgins, to perform both the United States anthem and the Jamaican anthem. If I could ask, if you can stand, could you stand to your feet for both of these anthems and give a round of applause as Mr. Higgins comes.
Mr. Prime Minister, good evening, everyone. Please join me in the singing of the national anthem of the United States of America.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave a proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land
Don't clap yet. Please join me in the singing of the national anthem of Jamaica.
Eternal Father, bless our land. Guard us with thy mighty hand. Keep us free from evil paths. Be our light through countless hours. To our leaders, great defender, grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth, be yours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Teach us true respect for all. Stir response to duty's call. Strengthen us, the weak to cherish. Give us vision lest we perish. Knowledge send us, Heavenly Father. Grant a true wisdom from above. Justice, truth, be yours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Thank you.
Awesome. You may be seated. Thank you all so very much. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Sometimes I forget my girth. So I was standing in front of the American flag, and some people wanted to look at the flag, but they couldn't during the anthem because I was blocking it. I apologize to all of you. All right, but hopefully you were looking at me. All right, the next voice you're going to hear on this program is someone who really needs no introduction. This is his city. He keeps getting reelected as mayor of this great city. Yes. Wow, okay then, thank you. All right, this is an evening with the Prime Minister of Jamaica. Let's calm down. All right. But besides his stellar years playing football, he's also managed to create and maintain with his wife, Angelo Messum, an incredible construction corporation here, which is one of the few LEED certified construction companies in the United States, if not definitely in South Florida. The Honorable Wayne Messum is a man of the people who cares deeply about the community and deeply about the Jamaican diaspora. And although he wasn't born in Jamaica, every time I hear him speak, I have to laugh when he tries to do patois. But nevertheless, he's our mayor and we love him. Could you give a warm welcome to the Honorable Wayne Messum?
Good evening. Wow, go on. To the most honorable Andrew Holness, Mr. Counsel General Oliver Mayer, Dr. Wesley Green, Reverend Green, all elected officials, as well as to the beautiful Jamaicans and friends of Jamaica, welcome to the city of Miramar, and I bid you a great good evening. Welcome. It's an extreme honor to have the privilege to welcome you to our beautiful city, especially being the son of a former contract sugarcane farm worker and his beautiful wife, who hailed from Manchester, Jamaica. To have our dear Honorable Prime Minister to come to greet the diaspora here in South Florida in the city of Miramar. I would like to pause to recognize the members of my city commission, Commissioner Yvette Colburn, a vice mayor. Yeah, we just elected her vice mayor on Wednesday, so Commissioner Maxwell V. Chambers, Commissioner Arvo Sherazard, and an absent Commissioner, he's here? Oh, all right, he came in. All right. Commissioner Eddie Edwards. Our city manager, Dr. Roy Virgin, and our amazing team in the city of Miramar. Miramar created history when we were the only elected body in all of these United States that had everyone either born in Jamaica or of Jamaican heritage representing a community. So Miramar, we claim we're the 5th largest diaspora outside of Jamaica. We have a very vibrant community, which is very diverse, but many of our residents hail from Jamaica. And the city of Miramar would not be the city who we are without the culture, the expertise in trade, in law, in public service, in engineering, arts and culture, in cuisine. If you remove Jamaicans out of Miramar, I don't know if Miramar would be Miramar. And we serve a very diverse community. Not only do we take pride in our country, but we also recognize the beauty and the many contributions of our neighbors who are not Jamaican, and that's what makes our representation that so much special. A few years ago, we had the pleasure of having the Prime Minister's wife, the Most Honorable Juliet Holness, here in the city of Miramar. And Mr. Prime Minister, don't worry, she had a lot of good music and food, and she was dancing without you too, so. So tell her we said hello and that we miss her. And I would say that we are full of gratitude to the leadership and the custodian of his duties, Mr. Oliver Meir, who brings all of us together in the diaspora. He doesn't get involved in politics. He's there to serve the interests of Jamaicans here in the diaspora. And we thank you for not only for your professionalism, your friendship, and I second the motion. He is by far the best Consul General to work in this territory. So as I conclude, so we can hear about the developments in Jamaica, I would like to take this opportunity to invite the Prime Minister up to the podium. Yes, sir. When we met today earlier, he says he's used to being the tallest person in the room. But I tell him, listen, we're normal-sized people, so being tall gentlemen. So, but on behalf of the city of Miramar, we didn't want Mrs. Holness to be the only one to have her special access to the city of Miramar because her key only works for her. So, when you come to the city of Miramar, we are here to know that you too will have your own key to the city of Miramar. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll use it. Right?
Thank you. Good. Good night, everyone.
Good afternoon. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, Mr. Mayor. Now, those of you who are in the booth back there, they've been following the program, and they alone recognize, as well as the Secret Service agents, that I totally have put the program out of order, right? So this is the last event that I'll be ever emceeing on behalf of anyone from Jamaica. But the reason for that, the reason that I placed the mayor of the city of Miramar before Consul General R. Oliver Mayer is because of the fact that when R. Oliver Mayer gets up to speak, it's hard to follow that. The only person who could follow him is the Prime Minister of Jamaica, right? So that's why I put the mayor first, Mr. Consul General. Now, the Consul General, as many of you know, he has served on the executive team for Jamaica Broilers. When we had Air Jamaica, he was also very effective in the management of Air Jamaica and many other private sector organizations on the island of Jamaica. I'm not surprised that the Prime Minister would have selected him to serve as the Consul General for the Southern United States. He's an amazing young man, and although he's a graduate of Campion College, I do not hold it against him. I still think he's a decent man, right? And his wife and daughter are exemplary. Ladies and gentlemen, could I ask you to give a thunderous round of applause as we hear from our Consul General, Mr. R. Oliver Mayer.
Big up all Massive and crew. Thank you for the massive audience we have here today. Give yourselves a round of applause. Prime Minister, I want to tell you, this diaspora here in Florida and in the southern United States has been simply fantastic. I appreciate each of you, your support. I've been here now 6 years as Consul General, and you have been very supportive over the time. And I want to say on behalf of my wife Tanya, my daughter Serena, and the entire team at the consulate, a big heartfelt thank you to each of you for your ongoing support. That's a clap you do. When I do that, you clap, right? Yeah. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you are here today and you are especially proud to be Jamaican, can you make some noise? Can you make some noise? Mr. Cameraman, please get out your camera. If you are proud to be Jamaican, just raise your hand, raise your flags at this time. All hands in the air as we big up the greatest country in the world, Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all the persons who have come out today. I know we have people who have traveled from far and wide. I'm told there's a crew in here from Orlando. Is that true? Orlando? Them little but them? Jamaica will little but we? I'm not going to talk long today now because it is an honor for me to have the boss in town. So I'm going to cut it short. But I just want to big up our resident MC who continues to make us proud every time, Mr. Norman Hemmings. Judge Hemmings. Thank you, sir. Sometimes I go a little close to the edge, you know. Let me just pull back just in time, you know. Sometimes I just sit there and get a little nervous, but it always come true. Mayor Messam, thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for your support. I want to thank each of the commissioners. Each one of you has been equally supportive, and I appreciate each of you. I want to recognize the commissioners from Lauderdale Lakes, all the team from Sunrise, Pembroke Pines. I'm going to get myself in trouble now. Lauderhill, Tamarack. Give me a rhythm. Remember, just go on through it. Coral Springs, Miami Gardens. Ladies and gentlemen, are you aware that Broward County, as a county, has more Jamaicans than any other county in the United States? So this is the heart of the diaspora right here, and we are proud. I want to recognize Victoria Mutual, Paul Elliott and team. Thank you so much for your support putting the event together. one of our legacy partners. A lot of work went into today. I want to thank all the volunteers. Even before the end of the day, Suzette, Lotta Lee, Cheryl Winter, Kareem, get myself in trouble now, call names. The entire consulate team. Somebody going to chop off my head when I go outside. Thank you to all the sponsors. I see Blue Mountain Coffee. I see Cleveland with them ice cream. Jerk ice cream outside, all kind of things happening. Thank you so much for your support. Right? I want to thank Reverend Green, the two reverends, celebrating 30 years Christway Baptist. Let's give it up for Christway Baptist. I want to thank all the heads of the diaspora organizations and members who are here today. Sorry, I can't call everybody by name, but thank you all for your support, ladies and gentlemen. We are here. We are thankful that we have our Prime Minister with us today. Our Prime Minister is with us today. Let's give it up for our Prime Minister. I will be doing the introduction, so I'll say a little bit more about our Prime Minister. But in closing, when you're heading home this evening and you're driving down and passing a particular hotel, if you happen to pass the Hard Rock Hotel, you're going to see the beautiful Jamaican colors on the hotel. Ladies and gentlemen, let us make some noise for Jamaica, land we love. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Consul General. Now, this great church is celebrating their 30th year in existence and serving the South Florida community. The city of Miramar is celebrating their 70th year as a city. Yes, you can clap for that as well. However, there is an organization, a legacy partner of this evening and of the Jamaican diaspora that's been in existence for 147 years, 1878. That organization is known as Victoria Mutual. And yes. And I have the honor and the distinct pleasure this evening of introducing to some and presenting to others the Chief Executive Officer of Victoria Mutual. A man who, just to tell you, this is the type of man he is. We were speaking upstairs and he said to me, my housekeeper packed the wrong suit for me to wear here this evening. So I'm wearing, she sent me with an older suit. So he had to go to an expensive store and buy another suit. He says, it's just not the same. Well, I looked down at my little Walmart suit and I said to myself, what must he be thinking of me? All right, but in any event, put your hands together as Mr. Paul Elliott Combs, the CEO of Victoria Mutual.
Wish I was warned about telling my stories. I'm here. Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Holness, CG, our beloved Oliver Mayor, of course the Mayor, Messam, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's truly a pleasure to be with you at the Diaspora Forum this evening. An evening with the Prime Minister. I get to experience him back home. So, you know, I'm a little better off than you are, but it's good to be with him again this evening. On behalf of the VM Building Society, and you notice I say VM Building Society because a lot of you here, when you left, we were the Victoria Mutual Building Society. You recognize this? So we're here. But we rebranded, so we're now the VM Group, and the entity within the group, which is a DTI, the Deposit Taking Institution, is now called the VM Building Society. All right? So on behalf of the VM Building Society and the wider VM Group, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you, to offer a special thank you to the Consul General of Jamaica in Miami for hosting this important event. We at VM Building Society are honored to support this forum as we continue to strengthen our connection with Jamaicans both at home and abroad. It is not just a privilege to be here, but a reminder of the deep ties we share with our fellow Jamaicans across the world, and especially with our vibrant diaspora community right here in Florida. For those of you who may be familiar, VMBS was the first financial institution to establish overseas representative offices back in the 1980s, a move that was driven by our recognition of the immense value of the Jamaican diaspora and the desire of so many of you to stay connected to the land of your birth. We understand the unique financial needs of the diaspora, and we've made it our mission to offer solutions that help you to achieve financial well-being no matter where you are. If I may take tales out of school, 1 in 4 mortgages that we write is underwritten for someone living in the diaspora. And a significant percentage, that's an applause moment. And a significant percentage of the deposits we hold in our business represent the savings that you send back home. So we thank you. As a strong partner in your journey, whether you're building personal wealth or running a business, VMBS is here to support you. We offer a range of financial products and services tailored to your needs. And we're ready and eager to work alongside you to help you build and achieve your goals, both here in Florida and back home in Jamaica. We also know that there are many friends of Jamaica and Florida and across the United States who also have bold financial dreams and who can benefit from the expertise of the VM Building Society. And I'm here to say we are here for you. I want to assure you that despite any concerns you may have from items in the news over recent months, the Jamaican banking sector, the Jamaican economy remains strong. The financial sector remains adequately capitalized and stable. There are robust safeguards in place, including the Jamaica Deposit Insurance Corporation, which ensures your savings are protected. These protections help foster confidence in the financial system. And at VMBS, we are committed to safeguarding your hard-earned money. We have been doing this for more than 146 years and counting. If you have any questions or would like to learn more about how VM Building Society can help you or your family or your business to achieve its goals, our VM team, headed by Suzette, is here this evening and ready to answer your questions. Finally, I want to thank you once again for being here this evening and for your ongoing support of the VM Building Society and Jamaica Land We Love. We look forward to continuing this partnership and to work with you to achieve greater success. And if you want to be convinced about the going back to Jamaica, I worked outside of Jamaica for 10 years. And this year marks 9 years since I've returned. It's the best decision I made. So if you want to. With that, I will not stand in the way of the Prime Minister any further. So I thank you and I wish you all a good evening.
We're here for you. You are written into this land. You are written into our story. Together stronger we stand. Your win is our victory. We're a firm foundation here to stay. Build you a brighter way. Transform your everyday.
VM Group. Transform your everyday.
Excellent. What warm words from the VM Group. Mr. Prime Minister, I apologize to you. You may have noticed I was on my phone. You probably thought it was disrespectful. My wife was texting me. She says, earlier, our Oliver Mayer indicated that Jamaica is the greatest country on earth. She warned me that I could lose my job and be deported. So where's the camera? Where's the camera? I would just like to say I'm an American, and this is the greatest country on the face of the earth. Thank you. That was my wife. It's my wife. Now, the next voices that you'll have an opportunity to hear, they're perhaps the most melodic choir that anyone could have inside or outside of Jamaica. And in fact, they have received national and international recognition. My sister actually routinely sings on this choir, but due to illness, she was unable to sing tonight, so they won't be as good. However, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you at this time the South Florida Chorale.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, again. The South Florida Caribbean Chorale has been serving the South Florida community for over 20 years. Yes? We celebrated our 20th anniversary last Christmas, and we're continuing with our Lenten concert, a free concert at Plantation United Methodist Church this coming Sunday. So we're invited to join us. And now we'll do Jamaica Land of Beauty, and this arrangement is by Paulette Bellamy. The chorale is 35 strong, but we were able to get 8 of us. I'm the 9th.
Jamaica, land of beauty, we promise faithfully to serve thee with our talents and bring our gifts to thee. Jamaica, we will always, in honor of thy name, work steadfastly and wisely, and never bring thee shame. From riverside to mountain, from cane field to the sea, our hearts salute Jamaica, triumphant, proud and free. Together in our country, in love and brotherhood, we'll work and play in freedom, as all God's children should, with hearts and hands united, in thanks for everything that God has given unto us. Together let us sing, from riverside to mountain, from cane field to the sea. Our hearts salute Jamaica, triumphant, proud and free, with hearts and hands united, in thanks for everything that God has given unto us. Together let us sing, from riverside to mountain, from cane field to the sea. Our hearts salute Jamaica, triumphant, proud and free. Proud and free.
Thank you all so very much. Weren't they just simply fantastic? In the year 1694, a property was built on the island of Jamaica that initially was known as Prospect Pen. That bit of property went through a number of changes in hands of ownership until eventually it was purchased by the British government and now used by the Jamaican government. You may know it by the name that is now accorded to it, that of Vale Royal. Well, Jamaica has been honored to have a lot of men and one woman serve as Prime Minister of that great nation over the course of its existence. But I believe that no other Prime Minister has graced Vale Royal with the same dignity, aplomb, stewardship, academic scholarship as the speaker that you're going to hear from in just a few seconds. So at this time, I'll ask that you put your hands together as our Consul General, R. Oliver Mair, comes to give a proper and dignified introduction to the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. You will notice that I'm a lot more demure and quiet. Yes, for the Jamaicans in the house, that rocks me up in the corner over there. And as I watch those foolish jokes, this is the Prime Minister of a dignified nation. Put your hands together as R. Oliver Mair comes.
Normally when you're introducing a Prime Minister, you have a very long, about 3 or 4 sheets, but now the Prime Minister's asked for something. I have a very brief introduction here because we don't want to delay any longer. But I just want to, the Spirit has led me to say, Broward County Rep, Hazel Rogers, I just want to recognize you. Here we go. All right, good. Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Michael Holness, ONPC MP, Prime Minister of Jamaica. We're pleased to welcome Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, who is building partnerships to promote inclusive economic growth and improved citizen security to advance a vision of peace, productivity, and prosperity for all Jamaicans. Leading an agile and responsive government, the Prime Minister is committed to making Jamaica the place of choice to live, to work, raise families, do business, and retire in paradise. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as we welcome the Prime Minister of Jamaica, who needs no further introduction. Let's hear it for our Prime Minister.
By this I know that you favored me, O God, for you never allowed my enemies to triumph over me. Hallelujah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hallelujah. God is good. And all the time. Let me begin by acknowledging the Director of Protocol for the masterful mastery of the ceremony, Judge Norman Hemmings. You have said quite a bit and given us very useful history lessons. But I want to correct you very quickly that the theme song for the year of my second turn at the wicket as Prime Minister, though it may have been appropriate in title, Miracle, but the actual theme song was by a lesser known artist, but still well known, a man by the name of Nesmith. And his song was My Dream. And by the response, I believe most Jamaicans here would know the song and would agree because it's not just my dream, it's our dream. I'm sure we have a shared vision for our Jamaica. I'm pleased to be in the sanctuary, and I want to thank the Reverend Dean Green for his prayers, and for Reverend and Mrs. Green, the parents of Reverend Green, for hosting us today in your lovely sanctuary. And congratulations on your 30th year. I had to travel all the way to Miami to learn that the first name of our Consul General was Roderick. Because for all the years I have known him, I have just known him as Oliver at Large. And please, you can stop telling me that he's the best Consul General. I have no intentions of moving him. So he's of course, you know, I believe we've met before, Mr. Mayor, and indeed it is my pleasure again to have made your acquaintance. And I will hold the key to the city very carefully, and I do commit to using it more often. Let me also acknowledge Mayor Denise Grant of the City of Lauderhill and the other elected officials who are here. Mr. Paul Elliott, the Chief Executive Officer of Victoria Mutual. And let me pause here to say that you have taken about 5 minutes off my presentation by reassuring Jamaicans that the Jamaican financial system is strong and resilient. I want to acknowledge as well the heads of the various diaspora organizations that may be here. Thank you so much for coming. And special recognition to the mentor band and the choir, the chorale. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And to you, the wonderful people who have taken your Friday evening off to be here with me. I am truly humbled by your presence. I know you could have been elsewhere, you could have been doing other things, but you chose to be here, and I am very humbled and grateful, and I want to say thank you so much for being here. This is a packed audience, and I believe that there may be persons hosted on the outside, that there is an overflow. As a politician, I have to acknowledge these things, you see. Oh yes, of course, they're on my list of salutations. And these days, of course, your larger audience is online. And I do have a very loyal online followership. And of course, there may be other persons who have joined. And therefore, I want to thank all those who are viewing us now, watching us virtually. Your presence makes this event even greater than what is physically gathered. And I'm being told to call out social media by name. I don't want to get into any problems, but you know all the social media: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I'm not sure we're on X. I was just about to say X. So I am here today to give you a piece of my mind. Oh, no. Otherwise, let me say it in another way. To share my mind with you. I was trying to follow Judge. I can't do it as well as you. But, so, where do I begin? First, let me say that Jamaica is at an inflection point. Jamaica is at an inflection point. And the best way to describe an inflection point is it is at the point in which your effort yields greater results. So the effort that you're putting out, you're starting to get far more effort, far more results than the effort. Because for a long time, we have been at the point where we're putting out a lot of effort and not getting commensurate results. But now we are right at that stage where for every unit of effort, we're getting 2 or 3 units of results. I wonder if that makes sense. Yes, we're right at that point, the inflection point, where transformation is going to take place. Now, the challenge with transformation is that it is oftentimes, while it is occurring, it is imperceptible. So you're in transformation, but you just don't know. You know, it's like you're going to the gym, you're exercising, you're running, you're dieting, and you're going on the scale and you're looking in the mirror and you say, what's happening? I'm not losing anyway. And then one morning you get up and you say, wow, my body looks so good. I have all these muscles now and I've lost all the weight and I feel great. But in that process, you may not feel that you're going through that. Your effort is yielding results. And that's where Jamaica is at that stage, where we're in this process of a transformation. And whilst you're in transformation, there are persons who may not necessarily see the results or feel the transformation. So we are in an inflection point, we are transforming, and the definition of a transformation, the best one I've heard, is it is the transition from being a caterpillar into a butterfly. Can you imagine that, right? I mean, the caterpillar is one physically distinct entity, but when it goes into the cocoon and it transforms, when it changes, it comes out as a totally different creature. Now, it's hard to say which is more beautiful from a biological standpoint. Is it the caterpillar or the butterfly? But we all know that the butterfly is far more glorious than the creeping caterpillar. Because the butterfly has wings and it can soar and rise and it's beautiful. And that's what we want to do for Jamaica. That's where we are now. Yeah. So, I was on the plane today, coming in, and someone who was also a passenger asked if he could come and sit beside me to spend a few minutes to talk to me. And I said, sure, fine. And we were having a conversation, very, very interesting conversation, because he pointed out to me something which maybe most of you here can relate to. He said to me, you know, progress is being made in Jamaica, but there is the displacement of progress. In other words, the changes that we are making for progress, for prosperity, for transformation, will cause dislocation and displacement for some people. And that's what we call the paradox of progress. That as things are getting better, There are people looking on and say, well, it's not getting better for me. And it is a challenge that we have to deal with in a democracy, because if people don't feel that they are part of the progress, they will try to change the progress. And you could end up in a situation where you stop the progress, or you swap the displacement. So people who were previously, progressing, their progress is stopped so that another set can progress. Now, I'm not here to debate the morality or the wisdom of the action of random change, because that is the foundation, that's the essence of a democracy. If you're not happy, if you're feeling discontent, democracy gives you that right to exercise your vote and make a change. So as we are on the topic of democracy, you should be proud, because Jamaica is it's the oldest black democracy in the world. No historian has challenged me on this assertion, and I welcome further edification on the matter. But I've done my research, and speaking strictly about democracy as we know it, with universal adult suffrage and all the other institutions that we ascribe to modern democracy, Jamaica would be the first. And there are other countries which followed very closely after. But Jamaica has maintained over 70 years of unbroken democracy. Even in the 70s, when we had virtually an undeclared civil war, we were able to change government seamlessly. And that is something that we must be proud of. So, we are at an inflection point. We are in our cocoon of transformation. At the end of it, we will be the butterfly, or if you prefer, the hummingbird. Yes, there is disgruntlement. Yes, there is displacement. And we maintain the freedom of our people to exercise their democracy. And therefore, I hope you're seeing the script being set up. So the issue is, how do you get democracy to deliver prosperity? That is the real challenge. Because democracy can be very random. Democracy presupposes that the people who exist in the democracy are either information seekers, that they go to find the information, or that they are rational with the information that they have. But that assumption is oftentimes very wrong. And that is why it is important, especially in the information age, that we communicate with our people, that we let our people know what your government is doing. And ultimately, you will decide. Ultimately, you will decide. So I'm here because I don't take it for granted that in the heights of the information age, where information is at your fingertip, that you will know. Because, you know, in the abundance of water, there are some people who are thirsty. You may know that quote from, well, it's not a full quote, but you know the quote, what the quote says, but that's from Rat Race, Bob Marley. So we have to make sure that our Jamaicans not only have information, but they have knowledge. Right? It's one thing to give information, but if you give information without context, that's not meaningful. Information with context creates knowledge. So today I want to give you some context along with the information about Jamaica. So, one of the areas in which Jamaica is experiencing this point of inflection, this positive turning point, is in the management of debt. Now, Jamaica has had a volatile history with debt. In the 70s, we experienced a debt crisis. And that crisis was caused by, as I survey the audience, I would say maybe about 40% of the audience would recall some of these things, and you may have very well lived it. Oil price shocks. There were other crises internally created, the pursuit of democratic socialism. And those created significant debt that we were not able to repay. We had to borrow from the IMF, and that became a political issue because the view was that rapacious capitalist institutions were exploiting a poor developing country. And subliminally, that message is still telegraphed in the Jamaican population because there is somehow a view that somebody held our hands and forced us to go and sign the agreement to borrow. In the 1980s, similar issues, no pursuit of overly ambitious and impractical political aspirations, but we also had an oil price shock. But more than that, we had a price shock in bauxite. Bauxite earnings just fell off. And that created another crisis. And then in the 1990s, we had another shock. Some of you may remember FinSac. In fact, some of you are here because of FinSac. And some of you are here because of the 70s as well. Displacement. And so all that debt accumulated, paid down, accumulated again, paid down, accumulated. And then in 2008, we had another shock, another crisis, and that was a global financial collapse, which threw our debt way out. But the debt was also because we were not managing our public entities properly, and we just weren't managing public finances properly. And in 2010 and 2009, we had no choice but to confront this issue of debt. We had to confront debt. And some of you may remember the Jamaica Debt Exchange, which really started the process of weaning ourselves off debt. But a deeper process was engaged, and that was frugality. Many of you who are here, you manage your own household, and you know that you must live within your means. I grew up in a household where the ethos was you want to be independent, so you mustn't owe anybody anything. So I'm paying due respect to Victoria Mutual, who is a good lender. But I'm sure that is the ethos of many of you here. You do not want to get in debt. And, it is indeed a puzzle as to why governments have gotten into debt. But in the 2010s, we engaged with the IMF. Now, the government of which I am a part started the engagement with the IMF. We did not complete the engagement with the IMF. The previous government, the government of the PNP, re-engaged with the IMF with a new program. And that program, along with the foundations laid in 2010 with the fiscal responsibility framework, institutionalized strong management of our economic affairs. And when I took over, I decided that I would do further entrenchment of the robust management of our fiscal affairs. And we did things like the independence of the central bank. We created a policy for targeting inflation rather than trying to control exchange rate through interest rates. We put in place a fiscal commissioner, an independent body that will look at the budget and determine whether or not the government is coming with a credible spending plan that will not compromise critical things such as reducing our national debt. And several other innovative management strategies for our economy. And that has worked well to the point where we have delivered 10 budgets without having to institute net new taxes on the people of Jamaica. All right, so technically 8 budgets with absolutely no new taxes. And that is great. We have managed to stabilize the exchange rate. 10 years ago, the dollar was moving rapidly. Real concern. Now, the dollar is very stable. Yes. We have the largest central bank reserves in the history of the country. Now, we were hit by a global pandemic. Tourism revenues just fell off. At this point, let me thank the diaspora, because the diaspora didn't fail us. And I know this because I used to have to make the COVID orders, the executive orders, different from these executive orders, but the COVID. Sure that people could go to the remittance agencies and be able to access the money that you sent back to Auntie. Yes, it was very useful during that period of time. And, there's a view that, the diaspora is important only because of its remittances. But that's not true. Right? The diaspora is important because of the remittance. It is the system of social welfare that is not run by the state. I mean, you take care of the people who we may miss, your close relatives and even people in your communities, right? But the diaspora was also the repository of incredible skills and paradiplomacy connections. Because, when you needed ventilators and medical equipment and medical supplies. It was members of the diaspora who was calling to say, I have this, I have that, how can I get it home to Jamaica? I know a doctor, I know someone here. And when many Jamaicans were stranded, members of the diaspora who came up and ensured that your Jamaican brothers and sisters were able to survive. And many Jamaicans, you assisted with tablets, not pills now, but computers and other devices. So the diaspora is an incredible resource. Incredible resource. So if you were to judge Jamaica purely by the economic metrics, Jamaica is the example of a country that has pulled itself back from the brink of bankruptcy to now being the case study for a country exercising good fiscal management of their affairs. The last rating of Jamaica's sovereign instruments placed us at about 3 steps below investment grade. And that's significant for a country like Jamaica. And there's a line in the report which I find very instructive. It says that Jamaica outperforms its peer groups in governance and management of the economy. So, the vision, the dream is that Jamaica will achieve its economic independence, where every Jamaican will have employment with income, good income, to be able to afford the quality of life that is enjoyed by any other country in the world, where you have the ability to fulfill yourself, and Jamaica will then be the place of choice to live, work, raise families, do business, and retire in paradise. That is what we're building. We're building an economy to deliver that. That is the dream. My predecessors, they didn't necessarily have the same dream. Much of what they aspired to was political independence, power. And that was because of, you have to appreciate the historical context of being dispossessed in their own land, the history of colonialism. And so the economic cost of achieving political power was never really a consideration. What was important is that we have the political power. And so much of Jamaica's past history for the last 50 years could be viewed in that prism. But it is instructive that it was Norman Manley who clearly understood that at independence, he said, we have achieved the political power. Now we must use that political power to achieve our economic independence, because it is in the economic independence that you will truly have political power. And so I see myself as a continuation for the ultimate political independence, But as a realist, a practical person, I've often said that the laws of economics are as immutable as the laws of physics. You have to get the economics right. You have to get the economy right. And those of you who live in this society understand this business of the economy. Surprisingly enough, I am not original in this. I mean, this is the essence and ideal of Marcus Garvey. This is what Marcus Garvey was all about. That's what the Black Star Liner was all about. It was an expression of our economic independence to ultimately secure our political independence. So I see myself as continuing that struggle. But here is a challenge. With this glorious picture of us finally reaching that inflection point in the economy, how do we deal with, the paradox of progress, the displacement that it causes? Because yes, as I shook hands with a small group that was gathered before I entered this audience, someone said to me, "So Prime Minister, tell me, what are you going to do about healthcare in Jamaica?" So, healthcare is a good example of the displacement caused by progress. About more than 50 years ago, the government of Canada granted Jamaica a hospital, Cornwall Regional Hospital. It was a gift from our friends, the Canadians. It's a lovely facility, well-built, strong, robust facility. But like every man-made infrastructure, if you don't maintain it, it will become unusable, regardless of how strongly it was built. And it deteriorated to the point where the steel in the concrete started to rust. And those of you who understand buildings, you know that the concrete will start to crack and it will start to compromise. And so you have to go and clear out those things and coat it with epoxy. Very small things which are very time consuming. We had to change out the HVAC system. We had to take out almost all the windows and rerun the entire electrics in order to make the building functional to modern standards as a hospital. One could have said, then why not just knock down the building? It is a consideration. And the experience that we have had with that building and the time it has taken to get it done and the cost and the political exposure, I would say here that if we're confronted with other such buildings, we will seriously consider the option of just knocking down the building and starting afresh. So we have spent a significant amount of resources on that building. And the problem is when you go into an old building, once you start to pull, everything else that you encounter, you can't leave it there, you have to, and so you're literally drawn in. But we are close to completing that building, yes. But for the time that we have been in the cocoon trying to transform that building, people have been displaced. We have tried to put in measures, but it has had a displacing impact on healthcare in that region. Right beside it, however, we are building a brand new adolescent hospital, a gift by the Chinese government. And that will be the most modern adolescent facility in the Caribbean And we intend to use it as such, not just a Jamaica hospital, but we will put in the best-in-class healthcare facility for the entire region to come and use it. We're building a new wing at the Spanish Town Hospital. Brand new wing. It will be very, very modern. We have started the redevelopment of the hospital facilities at the university campus. We're building several health centers across Jamaica, and almost every week Minister Tufton is opening a new facility. But as we build those out, there are other issues. Many people are concerned about not just the quality of the infrastructure, but they are concerned about the care in healthcare. They're concerned about how the nurses talk to them, how the doctors see them. They're concerned about these issues. And the doctors and the nurses, they too have their complaints. Because sometimes they're not easy people to deal with, And with lacking facilities, it places increased pressure on the doctors and nurses. Now, we have relieved some of this pressure, and we recognize that there is a human resource deficit, both in terms of the quality of the service, not the technical delivery of the service, but the care that is exhibited sometimes, the patience to the patient that is exhibited. And what we have been doing is we have recently put in place a major scholarship program that would support the training and development of 600 health personnel. Yes, who will serve on a bonded basis in the system to increase the number of personnel in the system, to improve the quality of care, and to reduce the waiting time. And when you couple that with improved infrastructure, the quality of healthcare generally will improve. I will say without contradiction that the quality of healthcare in Jamaica today is better than it was 10 years ago. I'd say that without any fear of contradiction. And this is not on, my speaking passionately. This is something that can be studied and researched. Right? It was my administration, when Bruce Golding was the Prime Minister, who changed the health-seeking behavior of Jamaicans when we introduced free access to health care. Before that, people used to stay home and don't even bother to think about going to public hospitals because they could not afford the fees. The health-seeking behavior of Jamaicans that they now rely on and go to our public hospitals is as a result of the introduction of that policy. But we also recognize that our healthcare policy cannot be limited only to infrastructure, which no other government, except maybe in the 60s, could compete with the number of hospitals and improvements that we are doing in the health system. It cannot only be limited to trying to improve and increase the personnel. There are some lifestyle issues and some mental health issues that we have to treat with when we talk about health and public health in a comprehensive way. And for Jamaicans, diet and lifestyle is critical because the NCDs, the non-communicable diseases, those are taking a serious toll. And certainly, after the pandemic, we have noticed increased concerns for mental health. So, our public health policy is rapidly developing solutions around treating with these issues. So I want to shift a little bit from health, and I want to talk about crime and violence. Now, I know some of you are fed a steady diet of all the killings and violence and shootings and all the negative things that are happening in Jamaica. I know it's a concern for you. I know it's a concern for me as well. We have adopted a two-pronged strategy. First, we must examine this issue of violence. Violence as a public health consideration. Not just from a national security point of view, but from a public health standpoint. Because if you look at violence, you have intimate partner violence. Man and woman business. You have domestic violence, which is brother and sister, neighbor and neighbor violence. And then you have parenting violence, otherwise called corporal punishment. The society may not necessarily see it as violence. And if you put those three together as, the critical social violence in the society that we have to treat with, these things pervade our social interaction. We usually say you go to a dance and a man step on your toe and you reach for your ratchet knife. That instinctive response that when you're in conflict, the only way to resolve it is to resort to violence. Unfortunately, that has crept into our consciousness, and it has just overtaken too much of our social interactions. So I would say that over the last 40 years, the level of aggressiveness in the society has reached an intolerable level. And it is changing the brand of Jamaica. It is adding a certain coarseness to our texture. And that has to be dealt with. And that has to be dealt with, as I said, from a public health standpoint. But in the last 30 years, we have seen a new form of violence emerged. And that is called organized violence. That is criminal enterprises using organized violence for economic means. Gangs in communities trying to dominate and control spaces. 70% of murders in Jamaica are directly gang related. If you were to eliminate gangs from Jamaica, Jamaica's murder rate would fall to below the regional average of 16 per 100,000. So the two-pronged strategy, we have to treat with the public health issue of violence, and that is why we have put in place the National Violence Prevention Commission to study and give us some recommendations as to how to treat with this, right? I know you're all concerned. Our country can't go down this road of coarseness. It has to be stopped. But as you are well seized, it is not a simple issue as a decree from the platform. Because there are many persons who believe that violence is important. You have to beat the picnic for the picnic to grow up good. And there are people who genuinely believe that you show love to the woman and not even go and say it. Those things are deeply ingrained. And so it's going to take time to reculture our people out of those beliefs. So that's a long-term project. But in the short term, we can deal with organized violence. And Jamaica has had great results in treating with violence. Some of you may recall the terrible periods of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s when Jamaica had political violence. But the government of the day, you have to give P.J. Patterson credit and Edward Seaga credit for the formation and institutionalization of the Electoral Commission and the passage of various laws, such as the voiding of elections affected by violence. And that put an end. Of course, the political parties themselves and civil society's own pressure, the actors started to eschew violence in politics. And the society rejected it. So there is an example, there is a way in which we can overcome this business of the organized violence in the society. And we have started. Right? We are being very tough on the gangs. We have put in place anti-gang legislation. We are prosecuting gangs under the legislation. We intend to bring new legislation to be more proactive in preventing gangs from forming. And the police has been very robust and kinetic in their operations these days. So as I stand here today, my last report from the Commissioner of Police, who accompanied me to the door of the aircraft, he told me that the murder rate so far would be that we are 35% behind where we were last year this time. And of course, you would have heard that we ended 2024, right, almost 20%, 19 point, little bit, 20%, almost 19% below 2023. And we ended 2023 7% below 2022. So progress is being made. Progress is being made. And what I would want from the members of the diaspora is to acknowledge that Jamaica is in this cocoon of transformation as it relates to violence. I want to focus a little bit on employment. The purpose of an economy is to deliver jobs. That's the purpose of the economy. Is to get people to be able to work. Because that is the fairest way in which you can participate in the economy. Of course, not everyone will be employed. Right? Employment is a totally different thing from working. You can work for yourself. You can be an entrepreneur. You can be an innovator. You can work for charity. You can work for free. We do it all the time. We make contributions to our society. We call it voluntary contribution. But you need to have an economic structure that supports work. I mean, work is important for your health, not just for your wealth. for the exercise of the human capacity to create. You need an economy for that. Because if you don't have an economy, what happens? People migrate. Why you think you're all here? I tell you this, the day the Jamaican economy, the day our GDP is even half what the GDP of the United States is, when I come to a church like this, maybe only the front row would be here. It's a reality. I go to Cayman, and every third person I meet is a Jamaican. If I go to Antigua, it's the same thing. There are about 1 million of you here right now in the United States, or maybe more. I'm certain it's less. But that's the reason, right? It's the economy. So we must be vested in making sure that economy works, right? To give you the opportunity to work. So we are in this cocoon of transforming the economy. And the best metric of the success of the economy as it relates to the ability for people to work is in the unemployment rate. We're at 3.5% unemployment. 3.5%. And if you look at that number, it's not as low as the US, and there are other countries with lower unemployment rate. But in the context of Jamaica, when you look at our participation rate in the economy, you would start to develop the view that you're almost close to full employment. Now, that is a starting point. That's not the ending point. Because we have different problems now that we are close to full employment. Now is where the productivity issues start to show themselves, where employers start to complain bitterly that for every additional staff they take on and they need staff, their output does not increase by a consummate number. So productivity is becoming an issue. Now, there is a lesson that the Jamaican electorate will have to learn over time, as I'm sure all of you who sit in this audience already understands, that there is a connection between the maintenance of the value of your income, your purchasing power, and your productivity. For a very long time, we have been focusing on trying to keep up with inflation in Jamaica. So there is a inbuilt, ingrained expectation that salaries, must move in step, or if not exceed the rate of inflation, because that's the only way you're going to maintain your purchasing power. It is an illusion. What we need to start to pay attention to is not just the output of labor, because when we have this conversation about productivity, somehow it seems as if we are blaming labor. Labor is a part of the problem, but not the entirety of the problem, and indeed not the first port of call for the solution of the problem. But generally, what we want is for an increase in total factor productivity, because it is the increase in productivity that will stem the increase in prices, right? The increase in output reduces the average cost of production, theoretically, but also realistically. And so, in countries like the United States, most, if not all, of your systems are performance-based. You have targets that you have to meet It's output oriented. And your electorate votes for that. So we need to get the Jamaican electorate to start seeing our problem in this light. That the government has put in place measures to prevent the government from creating inflation. Because right now the inflation rate is 4.5% thereabout, well within our target band. So the government isn't creating inflation. And what we need to do now is to increase the output of the country so that people's cost of living and purchasing power is maintained. That is a big challenge. So it means now that we have to upskill and further train our labor force. And that is something that we are presently involved in. It means that we will have to bring in new industries and new businesses into Jamaica. It also means that we have to mobilize the Jamaican diaspora. Yes, we want the remittances. Yes, we want the great philanthropy that you exercise for our country. But I want you to buy homes in Jamaica. I want you to come back with the AI technology. I want you to come back with the cybersecurity expertise and set up business. Yes, I want you to come back to Jamaica and invest in Jamaica and help us build that economy. Now, I know that not everyone believes that. Because you say, you come back and you say, boy, I have to think about my health care, the bad roads. I'll come for vacation. And no matter what, you will be the strongest defender of Jamaica. I understand that. And I'm not expecting that everyone will heed my call. But if only 10, it's a big start. Yes, and I'm certain that within the curtilage of this great church, that there may be even 20 that would have heard my voice and heeded the call to come and invest in Jamaica. Bring the new industries in. I want to talk a little bit about infrastructure. Another area in which Jamaica is in the cocoon, transforming. There is no other era, maybe for the 1960s, where the government has invested so much in infrastructure. Look, I drive on the roads too. And I drop in potholes too. All right? And it's not something to be made light of or to joke about. But Jamaica, like many other countries in the world, suffer from aged infrastructure. I don't know how many of you remembered that in the Biden administration, when he just won, he had a major investment in infrastructure program because the idea was that the United States was facing the same challenge of aged infrastructure. And that, previous administrations had neglected to invest in infrastructure. Well, Jamaica's problem is far worse because with a poor economy, even with a poor economy, you will still build roads and bridges. You may not build them at the pace needed, but you are still building them. But when you are faced with a choice of a limited budget, you're going to ask yourself, when it comes to the recurrent expenditure, do I spend it on maintaining the roads or do I pay the teachers, the nurses, and the doctors? And governments for the last 40 years have been faced with that choice. So the governments will borrow the capital to build the roads. But you really can't borrow for recurrent, even though we ended up at a point where we were doing that. And so what you earn is just simply not enough to satisfy all the recurrent needs. So you have to make a choice. This choice has never really been brought to the Jamaican electorate, because how politicians speak to the electorate is in a way that glosses over the complexities and the difficulties. And if you're a politician that tries to get too in depth, people say you go on like you're brighter than we. And so politicians have sought to kind of paint an unrealistic picture of the challenges that Jamaica faces, and has never really sought to bring the electorate in to the understanding. So there are many persons in the electorate who are of the view that the government has the funds stashed away in some secret vault somewhere, and they're just mean-spirited and not taking the funds to fix the road. And I hear a lot of people calling from the diaspora saying, you know, I'm calling from New Jersey, and I was just in Jamaica the other day. I went back to my country part, wherever. And the road, I know some of you in here do that. And the road, and the quarrel about the water. I understand. But I want you to understand that the many years of not having the budget to conduct ongoing maintenance would mean that the infrastructure would reach a tipping point, as the Cornwall Regional Hospital did, for many years of lack of maintenance. And it is just now, with the good, solid economic management, that we are able to make allocations. Not enough for it to be done all at once. We don't have the capacity to do it all at once. We don't have enough contractors to do it all at once. But, you know, the minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation responsible for works pointed out that no other administration has spent the budget that we have spent on the maintenance of roads in Jamaica. No, none. And yet there is still this paradox of progress, this displacement of progress. People feel that they are not included. So I think you've gotten the picture. And I've used certain sectors in the economy to show you that cocoon, how we are making the progress, right? And whilst we are in that cocoon, it's an uncomfortable period, and there are persons who will feel that they are not a part of the transformation. So what I'm enlisting you to do this afternoon is to explain what I have said to you, to your family back in Jamaica. Because you easily relate to what I have said to you. Because you have to live that experience here every day. The mayor and your other elected officials here, you understand what it means to run a city and to make sure you have that recurrent budget, so that as there is a pothole and you are called by one of your constituents, immediately you can repair it. But you have the economy that supports it. And what happens to the cities here that can't maintain the roads and have the potholes? What happened? People leave. And that is what has happened to Jamaica. So it is very important that whatever you vote for, And whoever you vote for, make sure you are voting for the maintenance of good economic management. Whatever color you prefer, whatever household you grew up in, whoever is your favorite leader, whoever inspired you the most, all I say to you is this: vote for the best interest of Jamaica. Jamaica is at the inflection point in its transformation journey. And during this difficult cocoon, whoever is at the helm must assure, if not guarantee, those who have not yet felt the effects of transformation, those who have been displaced by the process of progress, that the process of transformation will be fair, inclusive, and equitable. And that is what this government has sought to do. We have announced a program called the Solidarity Program. And we will be rolling that program out shortly, because we know that there are people in Jamaica who have not benefited from any of the COVID grants. I know a lot of you here would have gotten back checks from your government during COVID. That's the benefit of living in an economy that is doing well. Yes, some of you did get. There are many Jamaicans who got back from the government. In fact, I make this point: not one Jamaican civil servant or public sector worker was laid off during COVID. Not one. And no salaries were cut during COVID for public sector workers. None. Point that is oftentimes overlooked, but it should and must be said. Good economic management do that. We know that there are Jamaicans who are not benefiting from the social pension. We introduced a social pension that if you are 75 years and older and you weren't a contributor to the National Insurance Fund, the social conscience is that you should not be out there suffering. So we give you a supplement to whatever income you may have. We know that there are Jamaicans who have not yet benefited from the new social housing program. We believe that there are about 6,000 households that are in the worst of the worst conditions. We have assisted persons who are living in motor vehicles, persons living in trees. We have built houses for them and transformed their lives. And we know that there are persons looking on and saying, I see all of this happening, what about me? Right? We know that there are many Jamaicans who have not benefited from the increase in the income tax threshold, which essentially gives, a tax-free portion, a higher tax-free portion of the income. We know that there are persons who have not benefited from the reverse tax credit that we have given, right? So we know that there are people looking on and saying, oh, I see this one get, I see that one get, I see this group getting, that sector getting, what about me? So I want to say that we have solidarity. We stand with you. And we're going to structure a program to make sure that we get to you too as well. Because the growth that we are trying to achieve is inclusive and equitable. So, as I close, I urge you to choose what is best for Jamaica. Choose Jamaica. God bless you and thank you for your attention.
All right. Thank you all so very much. But before you leave, we're at an important... You may be seated for a few. We're not going to belabor this for very long because the Reverend Dr. Green wouldn't permit it. But that was a tremendous... that was a tremendous speech, Mr. Prime Minister. And I think what I got out of it, and I am slow, is that when you're at an inflection point, you must break out of your cocoon like a butterfly and free the people to live in a prosperous, transparent democracy. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you. Right. We're going to have a chance to ask a few questions, but very few. As you know, we're in a church, and our Jewish friends will tell you that in the Torah, there's a description of the burning bush. In Exodus, the 3rd chapter, verses 1 through 6, Dr. Green will tell you that there is a description of the burning bush. And in the Quran, in the 20th surah, verses 9 through 36, you will see a description of the burning bush. Why do I tell you all of that? You see, because the name wholeness means wooded holly plant that's emanating a glow. Now, before you start emailing and texting me, I'm not saying that the Prime Minister is an angel in a burning bush, right? Nor is he Moses. But I'm saying this to tell you that soon after Moses had freed the people from Israel, they immediately and they left the country that they were in, they immediately started attacking him. So this evening, because we're in a church, I'm going to ask that you make your questions succinct, right, to the point. All right, and then we're going to have very few questions so that you can get a chance to go home or to stop at Dutch Pot and get... I'm sorry, no, not Dutch. What's your name of your restaurant? So, thank you. All right, all the restaurants here in Miramar, and of course, it's right here in Miramar, Juicy Patties. I'm going to have one right after to get a patty. So this is how we're going to do it. We're going to ask you that you could kindly just raise your hand. Someone is going to bring the mic around to you. I have cataract, so I can't see hands very clearly. So however many hands I see, that's who we're calling on. So we're going to call on this nice gentleman over here in a suit. Yes, sir. If you could just give your name and your questions succinctly. All right.
Good evening.
All right. Thank you. Let's move to the next question.
Yes.
No. Oh, sorry.
All right. I have a two-part question for you, Prime Minister. How are you doing? You mentioned about infrastructure just now, and I just had to bring this piece out. Because as a person who is involved in construction and road building and so on, one section of my life, I know that there's one issue in Jamaica where the life expectancy of roads is totally ignored, overlooked, not documented, and is perhaps one of the fundamental issues we have with the road structures. They've outlived their life expectancy, and nobody's...
All right, so that was a live broadcast from Miramar, Florida, a conversation with the Prime Minister, sponsored by the VM Building Society. It's all the time we have for Nationwide at 5. Special thanks to our producer, Norgay Banton, the man behind the controls, Andrew Glenn Anderson, my colleagues in the newsroom. Thank you all so much. I'm Ricardo Brooks. Good evening.
Since 1995, we've been your go-to source for everything related to billiards, amusement machines, and electronics. With locations at 1A Lindsay Terrace, Kingston 10, and the Village Plaza, Big Bridge, Savannah, Lamar, we offer top-quality pool table parts and accessories, cutting-edge gaming machines, and more. We also specialize in assembly, sales, and service of amusement machines. We provide unmatched customer service, expert solutions, and products tailored to your needs. Who are we? We are Eclipse Enterprise. Telephone 876-960-3891.
Max Steel Bakery, breads and buns and